Good morning, fabulous grade 5s. Good to have you with me again. I think we've got a lesson that should wrap up time for us today. So let's dive into that. Standard start of the lesson reminders, grade 5 at WorksheetCloud.com if you'd like to email me, Mr. T, Mr. Travis. And after the lesson, click on the link above the video, do the worksheet, make sure that you've understood the last of what we're going to cover in time. The next page is, as usual, a mental maths or mental arithmetic thing. It's a combination of multiplication and subtraction, so make sure you do the correct one. That's an unusual combination, but I like to mix it up. You have 40 seconds for 10 questions, which means you have 4 seconds per question. It sounds like it's not very much time, but actually should be enough for these. These are the sorts of facts that should be in your head. Time starts now. Halfway. And stop. When I say facts, I mean the answers to these. They're sorts of things that should just be in your head that you don't even have to work out. You've got it there. It'll take time for that to happen, but the more you practice, the better you get. Funny that. Okay, 77. Oh, sorry, I'm going to go through the answers now. I don't write the answers down, I just work them out as we go. I hope I haven't made a mistake. I don't think I have. So 7 times 11 is 77. 7 minus 5 is 2. 12 minus 8 is 4. 11 minus 2 is 9. 4 minus 3 is 1. 9 times 6 is 54. 8 times 7 is 56. 6 minus 2 is 4. 10 times 6 is 60. 3 times 7 is 21. If you missed any of those, just rewind the video and have a look at it again. I said we were going to do one of these each lesson just to practice, so take a little while to have a look at that and see if you can figure out. Do take note that this has 2 coconuts and this has 1 coconut, so obviously this is worth half of whatever these 2 together are. Have a look at it. While you're looking, I'm going to jump across the whiteboard so I can show you how to work it out. I'll give you a little while first. About 20 more seconds should be enough. Okay, I'm going to go through it. If you'd like a little bit more time, you can always pause the video. If at any point I've reached a step and you'd like to try the next step on your own, you're also welcome to pause the video partway through my explanation. Okay, so if we look at the first line, we need to work out what each of the apples is. What we do know is that each of these apples is the same. So whatever we add together 3 times has to be the same thing. So the same thing that will add up to 30. So I can think of one thing that if we add it 3 times, it becomes 30, and that's 10. All right, so 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 30. So now we know that an apple is worth 10, and we can actually put that on all of the apples now because we know that those are 10. If we have a look at the second line, we have an apple, which is 10, and we've got to add 2 bananas to get to 18. So we've used already that 10, so we have like an 8 left. and we have to share that 8 between 2 bananas. So we're going to share it between 2. So obviously 8 shared between 2 gives us 4. All right, and we go back and check now. So 10 plus 4 plus 4 gives us 18. So we know that that's correct, and now we know that the bananas are worth 4. So we can put 4 where each of the bananas are. The only thing we still need to work out is the coconuts. All right, so we've got 4 minus something gives me 2. So I know that this is 2 because 4 minus 2 gives me 2. So I know that 2 coconuts is worth 2. So then 1 coconut would be worth 1. And now that we've got that, we can work out the final line. 1 plus 10 is 11 plus 4 is 15. And so our final answer is 15. I'm going to give you one again in the next lesson, so it's best to pay attention to these and see if you can work them out. It's very cool. It would be very cool if one of you could sees one of your parents looking at one of these and you're like, Mom, Dad, I know how to solve that. Let me show you. And then you get it right. And then people will be like, wow, your daughter's a genius. Okay. So what we're covering in today's lesson with time is elapsed time. It's a complicated sounding word, but it just really means time gone by. So our goals, be able to solve problems with elapsed time. Simple as that. So when we talk about elapsed time, we're talking about time gone by. In other words, we're finding out how much time there is between 2 given times. So I've got one time, I've got another time, a start and an end time. I want to know how much time is in the middle. So for example, if soccer practice ends at 3:30 p.m. and starts at 2 p.m., how long was practice? So you can work out the time in the middle. There are, however, different ways you might be asked this kind of question. So your teacher might also ask you if a movie starts at 5:15, or sorry, that should be 5:15 p.m. And is 2 hours and 23 minutes long, when will it finish? So we know the start time, we know how long it takes, and we've got to work out the end time. Or tennis is an hour and a half. It finished at 4:25. That should also say p.m. What time did it start? So you know the end time, you know how long it was, and you've got to work out the start time. So those are the 3 sorts of main kinds of questions that you get to do with time and how much time has passed. Now, we're not going to cover in this lesson, but you also get questions like if you added together a certain number or a few times, what would it come to? But we're not going to look at that this lesson, unless we have time. Right, going across to our worksheet where I've written down a few. Let me move that down again. Oops, I've disappeared. Oh, well, that's okay. Let me move down so long. Okay, I'm just going to get myself back. Right, so I've started off by having a look at 3 different ones. So, for example, a lesson starts at 8:50 a.m. and ends at 9:40 a.m. How long is it? Break is from 11:55 a.m. until 12:40 p.m. and sport is from 2:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. So you'll notice in each of those problems, and it's not a mistake, it's deliberate. We're looking at AM and PM time first. And the first one is when it's both in the morning. The second one is when we cross over midday. And the last one is both in the afternoon. It doesn't make a difference to how we work it out, but you'll see in one of the later ones it will make a difference. And after that, we'll look at 24-hour time. Okay, so we know what time it starts and what time it finishes. Yeah, okay, so we don't do this like we do normal adding and subtracting of numbers. So I'm going to look at the sport question first. And I'm going to do that just so that I can show you why we don't do normal adding and subtracting of time. So if we take the end time and we minus the beginning time, that would give us how long it was in between. But if you remember our subtraction, 0 minus 0 is 0, 0 minus 3 we can't do, so we have to borrow. The problem is normally when we borrow and we put that there, this becomes 10. But hours don't have 100 minutes in them. They only have 60. And so what you'd really be doing is borrowing 6, and that would become 6, and 6 minus 3 is that. Oh, sorry, we already borrowed from there, and 3 minus 2 is 1, so it's an hour and a half. But it creates quite a lot of problems, and it's quite difficult to remember when you're borrowing like there and it's not working like normal subtraction. So what I've discovered to be the easiest way to do this is to count it. So I'm going to start off by looking at, in fact, let me finish looking at the sport question. So I'm going to say, right, it's 2:30. To get to the next hour, to get to 3, I've got to add another 30 minutes. Because remember, we've got 60 minutes in each hour. So to get to 3 o'clock, I'm going to add 30. Then I'm at 3 o'clock, and to get to 4 o'clock is adding another hour. And there's my hour and 30 minutes. Okay, I hope that made sense. So instead of actually doing a calculation, I'm just actually counting from the one to the other. Let's do 2 more and see if that's going to stick. So first up, I'm going to look at the lesson time. So first, I want to get to 9 o'clock because 9 is a nice round number. So to get to 9 o'clock is another 10 minutes because I want to get this 50 to become a 60 so that it'll get to the next hour because we have 60 minutes in an hour. So to do that, I'm going to get 10 minutes. Then I've reached 9 o'clock. I now need to get another 40 minutes. And so I add the 40 to the 50, and I get that my answer is 50 minutes. So each lesson is 50 minutes. Let's try that again with the next question. So to get to my next hour, how many minutes do I need? We've got to get to 60. We're on 55. What do we add? We need to add another 5. Then I've reached 12 o'clock. I need to get another 40, so I'm going to add the 40 to my 5, and I get 45, and so I know that break is 45 minutes. Lucky kids if they have a 45-minute break. Sure. Okay, we've done the sport question. What we're going to do now is have a look at some 24-hour time. So I've got 3 problems, and then I've got a morning and afternoon problem. Okay, so with 24-hour time, again, we don't have to worry about too much. It's going to work out quite nicely. All right, so again, I'm going to look at, well, I'm on 15. I need to get to 60 to get to 9 o'clock, or 2100. So I'm going to add another 45 there. And once I've got to 9 o'clock, I still need to get another 10. So I'm going to add that 10, and I find out that my show, or my TV show, is 55 minutes. So this is a running question. This is actually probably fairly accurate. I like running. So running, I start running at 05:16, so that's 16 minutes after 5 in the morning. And I run until 11:49. I don't know why I chose those times, but that's it. So that's like a good 4 hours and a bit run on the mountain. That sounds like an awesome start to a weekend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out how long it takes me to get to 6 o'clock. In other words, the next hour. So I've got to get to 60. Okay, so maybe this one's not so easy to do in your head for some of you. So I'm just going to jot down on the side. In fact, let me do it underneath. I've got to get to 60. I've got 16. So that's me working out how much to get to the next hour. Borrow 10 minus 6 is 4. 5 minus 1 is 4. So it's going to be another 44 minutes to get to 6 o'clock. Now, I've still got some hours to go. So that's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Okay, 5 hours. So to get to 11 o'clock, I've already been running for 5 hours and 44 minutes. Now I've got another 49 I need to get to, so I'm going to add that 49. All right, so I'm going to use some of those to get to 6 hours. So I need to get to 60, so 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. So then I've used 16. That 16 takes me to 6 hours. And that 16 came from here. So that means if I'm going to subtract the 16, because I've added those in already, then that will leave me with 33 if I do that subtraction. So then I can see that my final time is 6 hours and 33 minutes of running. It's a nice long run. Probably like 35 Ks, maybe a bit longer, maybe 40. As I said, good way to start the weekend. Okay, let's have a look at the last one. This is quite a difficult one because it's a lot of time and we had to do 3 steps. First to get to 6 o'clock. Then we needed to get to, from there we needed to take some of the, well, sorry, the next thing was to add the 49, and then we had to put the 49 with that, which got us to 633. So there's a few steps involved there. That's the kind of thing that takes a little bit of practice to do. Visiting my uncle on a Saturday. I don't know why I chose visiting my uncle, but there we go. Okay, so we've got to get to the next hour, to 12 o'clock. So to get from 11 to 12, it's another 40 minutes. Then we've got from 12 to 1 to, sorry, let's do it in 24-hour time because we've got a 24-hour time. So we've got to 12, then 1300, 1400. So that's another 2 hours. So then I can say I've taken 2 hours and 35. I've got another 45. I now need to put the 45 into here. So to get to the next, to get to 3 hours, I'm going to use 20 minutes. So that takes me to 3 hours, but I've got to take the 20 away from here, which leaves me with 25. So I can now say that my total time visiting my uncle was 3 hours and 25 minutes. Yeah, it's not the easiest thing, but the more you practice, the easier it becomes. So let's have a quick look at the outing. And I deliberately did an AM and PM one because this is quite tricky. We're passing the middle of the day. But if you count, it's not going to be so tricky. So first of all, I want to get to 10 o'clock. So to get from 30 to 60, I need to add 30. All right, so that's 30 to get to 10 o'clock. Then 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. That's 4 hours. So 4 hours and 30, and I still have another 30 minutes to add. If I put that in there, 30 plus 30 is 60, which takes me to the next hour. So my outing was 5 hours long. Here we go, 5 hours long. Putting the 30 into the 4 hours 30, and then get to a total of 5 hours. I'm just going to pause while I put in a couple of problems that deal with finding the starting time and finding the ending time. Okay, so this kind of problem lends itself very well to word problems, but my piano lesson is 30 minutes long. It starts at 2:15 p.m. What time does it finish? So we're looking to see what time it finishes. We know what time it starts, so we've got to add 30 minutes to 2:15. So we've got 2:15, and we want to add 30. So I'm going to add the 30 over here, so that becomes, so 2:15 to, let me add it in tens. So 2:15, 2:25, 2:35, 2:45. So the answer then is 2:45 p.m. That's what time your piano lesson finishes. So it starts at 2:15, ends at 2:30. My birthday party starts off at 11 a.m. It is 4.5 hours long. What time does it finish? So we know the start time and we know the end time. So we know how long it took. So we've got to take the start time, 11 a.m. And just a clue, if it gives you the time in a.m. or p.m., you should give your answer, in the same time. We want to add 4 hours and 30 to that. So let's add the 4 hours first. We've got 11, then it's 12, then it's 1, then it's 2, then it's 3. So that's 3. So my hours is going to be 3. And my minutes, well, I've got 0 and I'm adding 30, so 3:30. Oh, sorry. 3:30 p.m. So I chose to give the time as PM because it was given to me there. In 24-hour time, it would have been 15:30, but we were given it in AM and PM, and so we give our answers in AM and PM. Swimming is an hour 45. That means an hour and 45 minutes. It starts at 2:30 p.m. When does it finish? So this time the only difference is I've given hour 45 in words rather than in numbers. So we know what time we start. We start at 2:30 p.m. We need to add 1 hour and 45 minutes. So let's add our hour first. So that will become a 2 plus a 1 becomes a 3. I've still got to add my 45. These are just my workings underneath. That's to the minutes. So I'm going to add in tens again. 40, 50, 60. Okay, so I get to the next hour. So that means my answer is going to be 4 hours. I've used 30 to get to 30 of the 45 to get to the next hour. And I've got 15 left. And that is what gives me my minutes. So 4:15. And we must give it as PM because that's how the question was given. I went scuba diving for 45 minutes. So now I've changed colors because I'm doing these problems where I've got the end time and I'm looking for the start time. So I went scuba diving for 45 minutes. I finished at 10:30. What time did I start? So we've got to work backwards from 10:30, which is a minus. So we're going to minus the 45 from there. So once we've minus 30, we get back to 10 o'clock. Sorry, 10 o'clock. But we have only used 30 of our 45. So we've got to go back another 15 minutes. So that means my hour is going to go back to 9. I've got to go back another 15 from 60. This is 60. So that becomes 45. So 9:45. So then I know that I started scuba diving at 9:45 a.m. Every time I do word problems with time and elapsed time, I realize again why it's one of those things that trips up students. And the real problem is that we use 60 minutes in an hour instead of 100. And I mean, it doesn't really make sense. So in all other things, we go 1 to 9, and then we get to the tens, then we get to the hundreds, then the thousands. All follows nice and easy. And then we've got time, and we have 60 seconds in a minute, and we have 60 minutes in an hour, and we have 24 hours in a day. And oh my goodness, what a mess. Anyway, that's how it is. So let's work with it. So number 5. I got back from a seal watching trip at 2:20. So now I'm using 24-hour time. So 14:20. It's 24-hour time. That's me in my brain converting that to 12-hour time when I read it. 14:20. The trip was 1 hour 45. What time did I leave? So I ended at 14:20. I need to go back, in other words, minus 1 hour and 45 minutes. So I'm going to start off by minusing my hour. So 14 minus 1 gives me 13. Now I've got to go 20 minus 45. So going backwards, I'll get rid of the 20, and now I've got to take away the hour. So I used up 20 of my minutes to get back to 1 o'clock. All right, and then I've still got another 25 minutes that I've got to go before 1 o'clock. 1300. So that means it's going to go back to 1200. And we still have to do another 25 minutes. So 60. We were at there, and we've got a minus still another 25. So this is 60 minus 25 gives me 35. So 12:35. And because it's 24-hour time, we don't write the PM or the AM. Last one for today. Robotics lessons end at 3:30 p.m. They're an hour and 15 minutes long. When do they begin? So we know that we end at 3:30. They're an hour and 15 minutes long. Okay, so we're going to minus our hours first. So 3 minus 1 gives me 2 hours. 30 minutes minus 15 minutes gives me 15. So in fact, they are it's not asking how long they are an hour and 15 minutes. It starts at 2:15. Right, and that's 24-hour time. No, it's AM and PM. So 2:15 PM. Right, I've got some for you to practice in the worksheet today. Know that this is one of those sections that's tricky and takes quite a lot of practice, but once you've got it, it's going to be easier. Practice the ones this afternoon. If you come unstuck, email me. It's grade5@worksheetcloud.com. You can also check out the memo, do the worksheet when you're done, and I will see you for another lesson soon. Thank you very much, grade 5s.